I've got 6 o'clock, so I'll call the committee of the whole meeting to order. Roll call.
Trustee Stormgard here. Shannon is not here yet. Did you just walk in?
He is walking.
I know he's got. Trustee Eichelkraut.
Here.
Trustee Francois.
Present.
Trustee Nice. Here's Trustee Cannon. Trustee Ziegler.
Here.
And President Service.
Here.
All here you go.
All right. Public comment. Andrea, I know what you're here for, so.
I don't have anyone signed up for public comment at this time.
All right. Consent agenda is the minutes from the last committee of the whole meeting on April 6th. So I'd entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Debbie, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Committee reports. Anybody got anything?
And we're going to committees have met yet, haven't we?
Yeah, public works went last week. We were talking about that at the meeting tonight, though, so. Okay. Staff reports. Maren, you want to start?
I will just refer you to the memo and just, we're looking forward to the new deputy clerk, Alicia, starting on.
Okay. Ian?
Over this way.
Keep you guys on edge over there, so.
Little stuff as far as planning commission goes, a couple of CUPs and then Badger Trails Phase 2 final plat of June. Andrew's here for the audit. You'll see our unassigned fund balance number. Just remember that almost immediately after we closed out, we purchased One West Main. And so there's that purchase price and soft costs that would be deducted from that. And then CDA, we've got a store project and then light plan, a couple other things, but that's a big part of it. 11 East Main had the final court hearing unless there's an appeal this morning. The judge upheld the rate order. So that's that.
Okay. Chris?
You should have received an email from me, one with the annual report and then one with the Q1 monthly reports in it. And then two, been working on the draft version of the bylaws for the police commission. So once we get a meeting scheduled with them, they can start reviewing that to make a decision. So other than that, we've been we put out a posting to fill an officer position. Actually now 3. And once again, we got nothing for a while, just putting it out during the regular routes. But as soon as we put it on Indeed on Friday, we got 6 applications over the weekend. So just amazing how that works. So
That makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Questions for staff?
I think Andrea or Drew, did either of you want to make a report? Because you're both unmuted.
Nothing for me.
Drew?
Give thumbs up.
Give a thumbs up.
All right.
All right.
Can't see your thumbs.
I'll mute you then.
All right, so we'll move on. Presentation 2025 financial audit presentation. Andrea.
Thanks very much. So thanks for your time this evening. My name is Andrea James and I'm with Baker Tilly. I'm excited to talk with you about the 2025 audit report. So before we dig into the numbers that are on the screen, just a couple of high-level comments on the formal audit reports. The first being the financial statements, our auditor's opinion or the report, independent auditor's report. It's at the beginning of the financial statements, similar to prior years. We've got sort of a two-pronged opinion there. We've got a qualified opinion for the governmental activities because of the equity interest for the joint EMS and fire. That information is not audited, so it's not able to be incorporated into our report. And then the rest of the opinion meetings or the rest of the information, we issued an unmodified opinion, which is all the rest of it is a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we're able to give. And then the other report is this reporting and insights communication report, sometimes referred to as a management letter. If you're familiar with this document, you know that it's made up of a lot of required communications, and the information contained will look really similar to prior years in terms of content. If you're less familiar with this report, I would encourage you to take a look through it. It dives into responsibilities related to the audit, gives you some insight on the audit work that we do, kind of the scoping process that we go through. Starting on page 6, you'll see the internal control matters that we issued the material for segregation of duties, period and close processes, and then training for reporting. Those aren't necessarily things that you have to correct, but they're just things that you should be aware of. Other topics included in this report include our contact information for everyone on the audit team. You're welcome to reach out to us at any time during the year. New accounting standards coming down the road, everyone's favorite. Material audit adjustments, and then I'll look ahead to next year's audit. In addition, there's a link to our website for some topics that are kind of outside of the scope of the audit that you might be interested in. So really, if there's anything that comes to your attention throughout the year as we look into 2026 and planning for next year, you're welcome to reach out to anybody to talk to those questions or comments. So now digging into the numbers, the financial highlight handout that you got today, we're starting with the general fund and your fund balance. So as a reminder, the general fund is your primary operating fund for the village. And then when we're talking about fund balance, we're talking about equity. So in simplified terms, assets minus liabilities. The graph, you'll see 2024 values for fund balance in black, and then 2025 blue color. So an increase from the prior year of 1.1 million. All of the fund balance in the general fund this year is categorized as unassigned fund balance, meaning it was not earmarked for any specific purposes. If we can scroll down kind of below the chart, we've got a summarized income statement. And that's really showing you kind of your actual revenues versus expenditures to get to the net change in fund balance of that 1.1. In the middle, we've got your final budget, so you had planned for a very small increase in fund balance. If you wanted to look into the details of kind of budget to actual variances, you find that on page 57 of the financial statements. Some highlights for kind of the biggest variances, permits and charges for services, as well as sale of assets were all up compared to your budget. And then on the expenditure side, your transfers out of the general fund were less than anticipated. Moving on to page 2, still talking about the general fund, still talking about fund balance. We're looking at that unassigned value kind of compared to your policy. So the policy range is mapped out there in the middle, 25% to 35%. 2024 was the first time we were within the policy range for many years, so that was great news. And you'll see 2025, we have exceeded the policy range on the high end. Always an easier conversation to be on the high end than the low end. And as you've heard Ian say that, shortly after year end, there was a spend down of the fund balance. So
If you're looking at it now, it'd roughly be 1.4 million.
Some things you can do if you want to try and earmark funds for specific purposes in the future. You can always look at assigning values. So if you want to start accumulating funds for something that you're planning in, year 5 from now, that is a tool that you could use to help kind of stabilize your fund balance within the policy. But again, if you have planned uses right away in 2026, that's not necessary. Moving on to page 3, here we are going to take a look at the village's debt, starting with general obligation debt in this chart. The top line, the black line is your state statutory debt limit, so that's 5% of your equalized value. The village has a policy further kind of limiting your general obligation debt outstanding, that's that green line in the middle. And then your actual general obligation debt outstanding is the red line at the bottom. So at the end of the year, about $11.7 million of outstanding general obligation debt. That is up from 2024 and kind of approaching that village policy range. So just something to keep an eye on. You're at 49% of your state statutory debt limit there.
So that about 5 million of that is attributable to TID 3. So while it's backed by general fund debt, it's not paid by the general tax levy per se.
Thanks for that one. Below the chart, we've got sort of a bigger, broader picture of your debt outstanding. So the general obligation debt is that first column, that 11.7 million roughly. Only a small portion of that relates to utility funds, everything else for your governmental activities. We've got revenue debt in the middle that is not secured by the tax levy, kind of split equally between the utility and then the CDA for the library borrowing, USDA. And in that other debt column, that's sort of related to that CDA borrowing. So it's the village owes the CDA, owes the USDA. And if you like data and comparative metrics, you'll find all kinds of data at that link to the Wisconsin Policy Forum on the bottom of that page. Page 4, we are looking at what we're spending on debt in the governmental funds. So this doesn't include the CDA or the utility funds. We're looking at principal and interest paid by your governmental funds compared to non-capital expenditures in those same funds. So we use non-capital expenditures so they don't swing all over the place when you have a one-time project. But that gets us to that ratio mapped out with the red line. You can see you're up slightly to prior year, kind of in each of the last 5 years, you've been kind of slightly above the comparative metrics that we have. They're mapped out in black, but you will see that you are below your policy at your end, which is good. That's the blue line there. The next 2 pages focus on utility funds. So the first being water and sewer utility. The chart at the top is your operating revenue versus operating expenses. About an $88,000 operating income for the year. So kind of flipped from the year before, which is good news. Looking below the chart, we've got your unrestricted cash reserves. So those are sitting fairly consistent with last year at about 1.9 million or 11 months of cash on hand. So kind of what that means is you could operate for about 11 months without collecting any revenue. Not suggesting that you do that. We've got your debt coverage ratio required for the water and sewer utilities because of your revenue debt. Both check the box or met the coverage requirement, which is good news. And then investment in capital, we've got kind of a picture of your equity funded capital versus debt funded capital. No concerns with the ratios that we got there. Similar information on the next page for the stormwater utility, really close to breaking even as far in terms of operations, about a $6,000 operating loss for the stormwater this year. Continue to monitor, but you'll notice that you do have quite healthy cash reserves in the stormwater fund, so just under 27 months of months on hand, and then really pretty minimal debt in terms of the funding of your capital assets, only 2% debt funded versus primary debt. So before I turn it over for any questions that the group has, certainly want to thank the village staff for their help for the audit process. We do ask for a lot of information. We do have a lot of questions. And, sorry, it's Ian's favorite time of year. We have one more part of our audit to go for 2025 with a single audit, so that relates to federal grants, which is actually the USDA loan that's outstanding. So that is due to the federal government by the end of September. I'm anticipating that we'll be able to issue that well ahead of the deadline. Happy to answer any questions that the group has.
Are we expecting to have the EMS audits completed for next year? So that we.
It's a contract that both EMS and fire have to do annual audits. So, I would assume they'll be reaching out to, I think they use Johnson Block.
Yeah, Johnson Block.
Yeah.
They should be by contract now.
I think, didn't they mention that at the last
Yep.
district meeting? Yeah, they're already.
I know they were talking about it, I just wanna kind of put that out there. We could have that cleared up for next year, I hope.
Yeah, it'll depend a little bit on timing, and sometimes we can use kind of a one-year lag report if they are getting a 25 audit currently, and then the 26 audit lags, depending on how material it is for the village, we could have some discussions and decide how to go forward.
Well, and really, I mean, the one that we got last year, last year, there was no capital, no any.
So we would need all of
Yeah,
that.
the future ones will be everything. I mean, it won't be 70 pages like you do give us, but for all of our funds, but it should be a much more complete audit in the future, so.
Yeah, and the capital piece is really what's gonna be kind of the bulk of the dollars in terms of what is the village's share of that entity, so that will be important information.
And I'm just happy to see that we've, our team and our processes have improved things for the village. And quickly.
Good job, Ian.
I didn't give you guys 1.19.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thanks, Andrew. All right, which gets us on to then, new business. Consider administrative policy on rules governing teleconference and virtual meetings.
Yeah, well, I put this on it, so it's something else to talk about, makes it work a little quicker. We had some technology, failure at our last, board meeting, and so, talking to Rick Manthey, village attorney, he recommended drafting this policy. It does, the reason why it's coming to you is this is a village board policy, depicting how you guys run meetings, so this technically doesn't fall into the other policy that you created that I can approve without you guys. So, this policy has to do with your operations. It really just says that if something fails regarding, sound with a hybrid meeting, we aren't responsible to fix that. Well, we need to fix it, it's the best ability we can, but if we can't fix it, we have not broken open meetings violation, because we still have the public meeting accessible to the public. In this room. So it just really goes through, what you're responsible for if you're attending the meeting, if more of you are attending virtually and you lose connection, we do have to stop to get access, all of that kind of stuff. And then this would just be attached to every agenda that has virtual as an option. It'll just be a blanket coverage.
It's a pretty common sense policy and
Yeah.
helps guide us. Our last village board meeting, we were a little confused on how to proceed.
You couldn't hear anything, there was nothing but static.
Anybody else?
I didn't miss anything. I was gonna say I made a motion.
No, we're doing it as a board meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I knew the audit was gonna be quicker, so I wanted to put something else on here.
Oh,
So we can just see it.
well, we can talk about what happened.
It is.
Any of us have the slightest idea what did actually happen?
I think the dust when they were sanding the ceiling and the walls got into the system. Because all Drew and I did was unplug it, blow on it, put it back in, and it worked. This wasn't GameCube all over again.
Nintendo.
Yeah, it was too overhead, but yeah.
It's a lot.
I do think putting something into the capital budget for next year for maybe a little bit better technology, maybe in the ceiling, might be a worthwhile investment rather than our wonderful floor set up here.
I thought we had already talked about that.
We did, just nothing's in the capital budget yet, but I think we should.
Some sort of system that tracks the speaker, like
Yes,
the owl.
Yeah.
Better than that.
you can always do microphones and stuff and
Yeah.
sound dampeners on those walls. Yeah.
All right.
All right, anybody else have anything? Yeah? If not, then I guess I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn committee as a whole.
All right, motion by Debbie, second by Shelley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries at 6:21. Thank you.
Seeing that it's 7:00, I'm going to call to order the Belleville Village Board of Trustees meeting for May 4th, 2026. Shelley will lead us for
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May the Lord be with you.
I lost everything.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Baumgart. Here. Trustee Cannon.
Here.
Eichelkraut. Here. Francois.
Present.
Nice. Here. Ziegler.
Here.
President Service.
Here.
The quorum.
Public comment. Anyone for public comment?
Don't have anyone, for public comment tonight.
Public comment.
Okay.
So I will not read that. Nope, then we'll move on. To the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member requests it, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered the first item after the approval of the consent agenda. And Gary, you wanted G removed. So,
Can I make a motion to approve items A through F on the consent agenda?
Second.
Shelley, seconded by Gary for approval of items A through F on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we have consent agenda item G, special event application for the Brother Love Music Fest. Make a motion to approve consent agenda item G.
Second.
Myself, seconded by Shelley. Item G, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And I'll abstain.
Gary abstains. Motion passes. Appointments report. I have no items to report on tonight, except welcome Missy.
Thanks. I missed the first meeting. So kind of working around my work schedule to figure out, make sure I'm not traveling. I'm supposed to be on meetings, so.
Yep.
I apologize if I think I'm gonna have to miss Wednesday, but I'll work on that. Hopefully I'll be back into regular schedule, so.
Item number 7, old business. Consider approval of resolution 2026-14, approval of the 2026-2030 Future Ready Strategic Plan.
Yeah, so it was the Word document at the last meeting. I've now created the pretty document that's here before you. You approve the resolution, which then approves the strategic plan. I believe everything is in there that was in there. It was just kind of updated a little bit different, kind of fixing the wording, making it a little bit more professional than what the Word document version had. But It is everything that you guys had asked for.
I'll move we approve resolution 2026-14.
Gary, second by Scott. Any discussion on the strategic plan?
I was surprised at our low turnout on that. I went back and looked at the presentation that you put together that I had missed. I'm like, was that strategic plan am I looking at the right thing that was based on the survey that was done?
We did a residential feedback survey.
Feedback is what I meant, and that it was so staggeringly low.
Yeah, people tend to not answer those type of questions. We can always try again, but really those surveys aren't really the best use of our time. Having, call with administrators or random surveys, the resident feedback questions that are on the website, trustees doing their own trustee things, like, those are the better ways to catch metrics or people coming to our board meetings.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to see us make more initiative then to try to improve those numbers and that feedback. I'm not sure what that should be. I didn't know if you guys had already discussed that or not, but that, and it seemed very dismal that like nobody had any transparency, everybody had transparency issues with us. I thought, really? Like this just really didn't feel good. And I guess that safety came up. I don't feel like Belleville's an unsafe place, and I was surprised to see that safety, I think it's very important that we maintain a safe and welcoming community, obviously, but I was surprised that was one of the issues, or something that really people were.
Well, there were issues with just police presence, but it's kind of hard to have police presence when you have one officer.
Right, yeah,
They talk about the village and communication wise that it's not great, but then they say that every department is doing a great job.
Okay.
This is the, old adage, Congress is terrible, but my legislator is great.
Okay.
And I feel it was a matter of timing too.
Okay. Wow,
There's a lot of transition at the time, and I think people were just
yeah.
kind of confused by.
But yes, we are trying to figure out if there's like a texting thing you could do
Yeah.
or something.
I'd be interested in working on it. Trying to figure it out. That's all, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else on the board? All right, we've got a motion by Gary, seconded by Scott to approve the resolution for the strategic plan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. New business. We're going to consider approval of a contract for service with Greene County Highway Department for the 2026 street rehabilitation project. Streets are going in to get rehabilitated.
No.
You drinking?
How's your voice?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that number may change a little bit because we're still talking about the material used. There's also an option to use granite, which would change the coloration a little bit, and I'm still waiting to get the exact granite numbers back. The highway commissioner tells me that the numbers would end up being very similar, simply because the granite's more expensive, but you use less of the material. And I apologize, I wasn't here to bring you hard copies, but I just sent you that abbreviated version with the basic information. About 1.5 miles, $68,000-ish. And so that's what we're looking at. This would be down in that Cosgrove neighborhood down in the southeast section, and it should buy us about another 20 years of life. And the money is set aside for this in right-of-way maintenance already.
Drew, are there, I assume there's some other benefits to using granite over limestone, right? Or it looked like it was more durable.
So this is my preference, actually. In the last time we did the chip ceiling, it was the wrong color. I had directed staff to find the right color, and that's why granite is commended to you.
Nice.
Because I want it to match the street, I don't want it to be that.
I kind of agree too.
See?
I'm not saying it's wrong or bad.
But that is why the item is in front of you. It's because I'm picky and I want the street color to be matching the street color, not to be red.
I'm just trying to do my best to save the streets over here, guys. Just
But that, I think, when you do look at the looks and placemaking and quality of life, it does matter in the end, personally to me. That's why I'm recommending the granite. And we have,
I don't want a red street.
if you are gonna grant me a specific amount of money, I do ask you give me a little bit of leeway because I'm not sure what that material change will do. He tells me it'll be very close though.
Like, do you need another 5 grand, 10 grand?
we have $100,000 that the board has already approved for this. And I'm pretty sure Public Works has done 5 or something.
$5,000 for the sidewalks.
So you have $75,000 allocated right now for right-of-way maintenance. You have another 5.
I'll make a motion that we approve contract with Green County Highway for Chichester Street up to not to exceed $75,000.
Second.
Second.
Get them done. Need to be done. We have the second.
It's got.
It's not good. Here's that.
I heard down there, but.
Yeah, me
okay.
too. Oh, my.
All right, it'll be Scott then. So, motion by Gary, second by Scott to approve the contract with Green County Highway not to exceed $75,000. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Streets are getting a little tight.
You are right.
And they're gonna be color coordinated.
Start out here.
Next item of business, consider approval of administrative policy number 2, rules governing teleconference and virtual attendance at meetings.
This is the policy that you just discussed. Same exact one. Now you approve it.
Now I make a motion to approve administrative policy number 2.
Second.
So, to approve the rules governing teleconference and virtual attendance at meetings, which, as I said, in community of the whole, I believe this makes a lot of good common sense for us, gives us guidelines on how to proceed if we have a technical difficulty like we experienced last village board meeting. And I'd like to commend staff on their quick turnaround of putting something together to address a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item of business. Consider approval of Kundert Construction Aerator Building Renovation Bid. Drew.
Yes. So, we put out the RFP for, again, I guess some rehabilitation of the aerator shed and community park. Had several contracting companies come out and visit the site, received 2 bids back. One of them is from Kundart. The other one is, what's the company name right there? Iconica. Iconica. Do you guys want, they were extremely different. Both, I think, in their, how they evaluate costs and what they charge and sort of their operating mechanisms, I suspect, but also in their views of the scope of what needed to be done. So the Iconica one was 2.5 times the price of Kundart. So I'm going to ask, do you guys even want to go over that? Or do you just want to stick to the Kundart?
I guess I would ask why they're so different. I had always thought of Kundart more as a residential builder. I'm surprised they came in with the price for something like this building. I mean, I'm all for the lower price. I just am wondering why so much lower?
I can answer part of that. When Iconica looked at it, they quoted like full truss replacement rather than, it was just a totally different scope of work that Iconica sent their quote for. And Goodard is more repair, and I think Iconica went with the
Full on, like getting rid of it.
yeah.
I think that's an accurate assessment. And I recall the gentleman from Iconica told me, frankly, he thought, it might be more cost effective for us to tear it down and rebuild it. So yeah, very different perspectives on what should be done there.
We got in Public Works last week, there was a comparison that was done. I thought it was gonna be attached to the agenda, but it's not, so, I mean, I can pass this around if you wanna see, but, one of the other committee members put together a little, side by, or show as to what the differences were, so, I mean, there's some major areas where they were a lot more, where Iconica was a lot more expensive than Cunard, so, and after a lot of discussion, we talked about what kind of roof we were gonna go with, are we gonna remove the chimney, all that kind of stuff, so.
What's the long-term plan for that building? I mean, are we gonna just keep an area in for, I mean, that's all it is right now, and I'm sorry, again, I know I'm playing kind of catch up on
Yeah,
it.
because I think if we talked about tearing it down, but if we tear it down, we're not sure we could rebuild it, right, Ian?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the master plan that you guys approved, had the building staying just as a area.
Okay, well, right away, if you're not gonna be able to rebuild it, then repair it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So my question is, between the two estimates, we're comparing apples to apples, correct?
No, because it's all I can just speak.
No.
So what are they saying? One is saying we need more than the other one.
Removal.
Can I interject something here?
Yeah, of course.
The things I would look at, I mean, it's not apples to apples. It's two very different things. But what I would look at is the few instances where it is apples to apples, and then look at where it's not apples to apples. Because I think both of those sort of perspectives say a lot. Like two things that are very similar. The operation for siding is going to be pretty much the same, and for the windows, the same. And so what you see is, the costs for those two items are fairly similar. With Cundart just, being significantly cheaper, but it's still within the range. And then the apples to oranges bit, you see the more itemized labor costs for Iconica as well as the demolition. I mean, Iconica's talking taking down walls and replacing. So I mean, huge different vision there for what's going to happen. So you can sort of see that where they're doing the same thing, Cundart is fairly they're on the same page, but is significantly cheaper. But then they're also just not looking at doing the same things.
So a couple examples, like construction management, Iconica was $11,500, Cundart was $4,600.
But then again, that's based on scope of work.
Well, yeah, carpentry, 18,000 for Iconica, $3,800 for
Yes.
Cundart. Yeah, but I mean, there are some major,
But in the end, it's all going to be the same.
yeah. And we're gonna do a little of the painting, we thought we could do some of the painting on the inside, that kind of stuff too, so.
Yeah. What we talked about, I'm sorry, what we talked about in Public Works was we do the, we're looking at the shingle roof, the chimney tear down, and then we would do the painting. So remove the painting, which brings that number to like 39,800, I believe.
So the Cunard remodel does provide everything we need.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we came up, the notes I had from the meeting were $42,300, and the recommendation from Public Works was not to exceed $50,000, just so we didn't have to, because that's what's in the budget, and that way, if there are some additional expenses on there, we could just do it at that point, or Drew wouldn't have to come back here, so.
Well, that makes sense.
So I got two questions. So regarding the future planning and use of the building, wasn't there discussion at some point about a warming house for ice skating? Wasn't that what it was used for at one time in the past?
That's what it was, but you can't skate now, so.
What's that?
You can't skate on the lake anymore with the aerator, so.
Well, but could it still be used as a warming house if we had skating rink put in on the basketball court or something in the winter?
If we rebuilt the chimney,
Yeah.
I think it was a fire, like a wood fire chimney, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like your idea though, they would still be repurposed into something, not just holding an aerator, not just a building that we redo and just holds an aerator for the next 20, 30
I
years.
know there's a lot of fishing pools there.
Well, that's all the cops and.
Yeah, it's because.
Let me-
Of that all the time.
can I back up about a year? This was one of the first things that came up in Public Works when I came on here. And to be frank, there wasn't a clear vision for what was wanted with this building. We knew we needed it for the purposes that it served, but it was an eyesore. So after some discussion of no grand new purpose presented, but also an unwillingness to get rid of it, the tasking came to me. We need to keep this as it functions so that it can house the aerator and it can house gear for, cops and bobbers and different things like that. And so that it didn't look like a blight on the park. Those were sort of the requirements that I was given to meet. So in my mind, this bid meets those requirements. That's the goal that was set out for me.
I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just want to get full background and refreshed in my mind on where we're going with it. My next question, which Drew, so I've never been in the building. So has someone been in there?
Yes.
From the village? And for example, have you kind of, I'm not expecting you to be an expert, but have you inspected like the trusses and looked at the walls some and, from a layman's position, looking at it going, do you think that can be repaired or do you think they actually need to be replaced? I mean, like if you look up at the ceiling, are you seeing wooden trusses that, it's been leaking and there's water damage and it looks like it's rotted and plywood is, falling apart. That would be, okay, well, maybe there's, a little more involved with the repair work than what, Kundert is expecting. I mean, you did say each of these contractors came out and looked at it. So, we've got some trust in, they know what they're doing. But what is our personal experience?
There is plenty of damage. Water damage with the ceiling for sure, certainly. There's some rotted wood up there, absolutely. And a lot of it is going to have to be replaced. To me, the biggest damage is the shifting ground and the wooden block wall or the cement block walls. I mean, personally, if you're looking for 100-year solution, I don't think this is it. If you're looking for a 30-year solution, I think you probably got it.
I think we need to consider sorry to make you go back to that, but I think you're right. Is there somebody else that needs to come in and look? I envision the quote going with Kundert like this. Here's your dollar amount. We get in and see it and they say, none of this is gonna work. And now we're back up to where we were with the original Iconica bid because they're just completely different plans. I think we need to figure out what we're doing with that building. And if we need to go through the path of if we're redoing a park anyway, can't we get the permits to rebuild it at some point? Or is that just completely not even in sorry, Drew. I mean, I know what you're saying. You were tasked with like that's a very broad thing you were tasked with, like do something with this building, which I sure, because at the time, it is an eyesore in the park, as it is. But I just don't know if this is the right solution to, maybe that's just because I haven't been up to date on things and maybe you guys are much more comfortable.
Oh, no, you're right, Melissa.
I hear you. I
I just feel like
hear
it's
you.
gonna end up costing us the same amount. We're just gonna get hit with it on the back end, like maybe change happens with things, water towers, or, I mean, just, I know that happens.
Yeah, I hear you completely. You know,
And the block walls not.
you don't always see, you don't always have the luxury of a right answer and a wrong answer, you know? Yeah, so
How long was this out for bid?
a month.
Only got 2?
Yeah.
What's everybody busy building?
Beats me. I don't know, probably. I don't. Oh, you did ask about rebuild. I'm sorry. There was at the beginning of your statement, I guess there was a question you asked about the possibility of a rebuild.
Yeah, is that completed?
I've learned to get to be very hesitant with this because it all involves the DNR and I've learned you ask the left hand yes or no and it says yes, and you ask the right hand yes or no and it says no. So the last I heard was that close to the shoreline, putting in a building with a DNR will be a no.
Yeah.
But I was also told the same thing about putting a beach, and now I'm getting the other side. Someone else at the DNR going, "What are you talking about? Sure, you can."
Do we have a really good relationship with perhaps just a contracting use of MSA that has a really good relationship with the DNR and could venture down this path very cautiously?
What's the fine if we do it anyway?
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that,
We don't do that.
because we want other things.
I don't know.
That's where I'll stay with my comments on it. I'm just throwing things out for thought.
I would say these two proposals are broadly for the building to serve the same purpose, right, to be an area. It's not like the Econica bid is going to get us a building that does something different, and we don't have another plan for the building. So I think at this point, it makes sense to approve the Conger bid as the more affordable option for what we're planning to use the building for in the foreseeable future.
Because there was nothing in the, if I remember correctly, and I didn't look at it, but in the revised master plan over there was there a different building or?
No, we left it exactly as it is.
Yeah.
And for storage for us.
And I mean,
This would be to maintain it in its current purpose because no one's got any better ideas, but we know we need it.
because we need a building for the aerator. So.
I make a motion, we approve the Conger bid.
Not to exceed 50,000 is what Public Works suggested, so.
Yeah, 50, up to 50, yeah, that's fine.
I'll second it.
All right, so we've got a motion by Scott, seconded by Gary to approve the Conger bid not to exceed $50,000. Does anybody know anything about the electrical to the building? Like, just still stuck on the warming house? Like,
I don't think it'll be.
can you put an electric heater in there
I don't think that'll be-
not needing a chimney?
I don't think that would be used as a warming house again.
No, it's not big enough?
No, I just don't think that that's ever gonna be, by doing it this way, keeping those block walls, putting in a chimney, we're not gonna be burning wood in there, because what's the liability in that?
No, we're not gonna burn wood.
Right, baseboard heat in that building on attached block walls, I don't think is gonna happen, and that's sort of my,
You have to do a modine heater.
I guess rather than, I'd like to see it go back out for either bid or consideration as to what we're gonna do with that building, but I don't think we need a building in prime real estate holding an aerator. I don't know how big the aerator is or what the reasons for holding it. I know we have to hold it, what the reasons are for keeping it there, or what the logistics of it are, but that's prime real estate
Well, I
to
think-
hold a piece of equipment.
I think building anywhere along that lakeshore is going to be next to impossible with DNR rules.
We're gonna have to venture down that path. And at some point, somebody's gonna ask some questions about what we're doing. Are we putting in piers? Are we putting in a beach? Are we allowed to do a building? At some point, we're gonna have to ask hard questions about that lake, I think.
Well, I think the location and that there's an existing building there and that we don't have to deal with any DNR hurdles right now is, you know, the number one concern of mine, and that makes it, you know, a good idea to have the building there and to, you know, renovate it here. You know, the price, it's in line with, you know, a quote I had to build a shed that I was looking at. So, you know, I don't think that's out of line. You know, if we get 20 years out of it, maybe 30, you know, I think it's still money well spent. You know, for example, if the park is being, you know, we move forward with the master plan in the park and say we do get a pool, or not a pool. We have a whole lake, we don't need a pool. But if we get a beach or something and say that beach includes some sort of equipment, or, you know, think we get allowed to put inflatables out in the lake, that same building would hold whatever pump might be needed to keep those inflated, or be their storage location, hopefully, depending on size and everything, for storing those. So I would hate to tear it down and then not be able to have a building in a super convenient location.
So by statute or admin code, and our own shoreline zoning, there's a no build for a human habitation basically within 75 feet of the water line. So we're grandfathered in. We can keep the building, we can, you know, improve the building, we can renovate it, we can do what we want to it, as long as we don't expand the footprint and expand the non-conforming use. So, I mean, we don't necessarily have to keep it, you know, for just storage. We could possibly use it for something else, but we wouldn't be able to build onto it in any meaningful way.
But we could keep the same, you said same footprint, like same foundation,
yeah.
dig a new like use that footprint, put new concrete foundation in? Not?
Probably not.
Okay.
Location to the water.
Usually you have to keep like some existing wall or something.
Yeah, you have to keep an existing law, and there's precedent around that. So, I mean, you could do other things with it, but you're still very limited. As far as like piers and all that kind of stuff, that's pretty easy to work with the DNR to get that stuff done. I mean, it's possible that they'd let us do something, but it would be a process. So definitely not a slam dunk. And I mean, for 50 grand right now, just to make sure the building is viable. I mean, I don't know.
You have to consider the cost of what happens if we wouldn't keep the building there. Like if we don't approve it, what happens if the building collapses tomorrow? Are we then out like an aerator that's getting wrecked with the elements, or the headache of having to put it back up, is that going to cost us more than, for lack of a better analogy, slapping lipstick on a pig for 10 years?
My concern was the structure stability itself. Didn't you say that it was shifting or something? Is that why they need all the masonry work?
Yes, yeah, that is. I mean, it's there. There's no denying it. I mean, there's a big old crack through the floor, and you know, there's plenty of gaps in the wall where it's cracked up. It's not the most stable piece of land. I mean, we've got the same thing with the shelters in that park. There's not a lot of concrete down there anymore because it breaks up. Community park moves.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not always a right and a wrong answer. And those are the hard ones.
I'm just really concerned about that whole structure stability thing. If we go ahead and approve up to $50,000 and in 5 years, we flood again, or erosion, whatever the elements were up $50,000.
Well, but it can happen if we spend 120 on it.
Oh, no, I know that.
Well, insurance would cover it too.
Yeah.
And arguably, that's what the official trust is from, is for too, is to ensure that the continuance of our facilities regarding the lake is the ideal usage of that money.
So the true question here, a renovation versus a tear down, like which one is actually truly needed?
It definitely needs work.
But we don't have a plan B if we tear it down, that's the problem.
We've never discussed what we want to do with it.
Could we I guess I was in there and I looked around and I agree with both bids. I mean, if you look at one perspective, yes, it needs trusses, yes, it needs a lot of masonry work, but I guess I never looked at the aerator itself.
Done on that thing.
How big are we talking?
Long time.
That's part of the reason that it's looking like it is.
Is it 6 feet by 6 feet? Or
Drew, how big is the area?
how big
It's
is
not
it?
big at all. It's a couple feet by a couple feet.
Like 620 square feet.
So if we spend the money to redo this or upgrade it or repair it or whatever it is, what kind of maintenance are we gonna have on it so that we don't have this again in a short period of time? I mean, when was the last time any kind of upkeep or maintenance was done on this thing? Is it done yearly? Is it done every 5 years?
Well, I think the painting and the shingles and that kind of stuff is something that could be put in a maintenance schedule. As Drew mentioned, if you go to the shelters over there, there's not much cement left in those because, like you said, the park moves, and so those kind of, those, the floor and the masonry block wall, we get a paint the flood or whatever, affect that again, but the general maintenance, painting and except shingles and replacing a door and all that kind of stuff, we should be doing that on a regular basis.
That's what I'm asking. Is this on a schedule or are we just kind of, well, we should probably go look at that.
It's along the lines of, what we need to do with the pump houses also for, following our own ordinances and keeping them, looking the way that they're supposed to be. I personally am fine with renovating this building with the under proposal. It's a bunch of what ifs if it floods again and whatever, that's why we have insurance and if something like that happens, maybe we'll be in a different place, with planning and where the park's going, that we'll make a different decision at that time. Maybe the building will have to be raised if it would sink so far, and then we go from there. So you can't see the future, but I think this is a pretty safe and conservative route to go.
So I'm less worried with those eventualities because, we have insurance for a reason. It's not used like actually being, inhabited by anybody who's working or anything on a regular basis. It's just equipment in there. So, there's no threat to safety. It's kind of worth it to keep it up as an insurance policy to make sure that you can make a decision later, because once you would raise that building, that's it. So you don't, well, I don't want to say definitively, but I'd give it probably an 80% shot that you wouldn't be able to put anything else up. So I just have an option in the future. In the scheme of things, 50 grand is for a roof that you can stick your arm through right now. Ain't that bad.
Right. Any other discussion before we go to vote? Going once? In place? All right. Third time we're going to vote. So we've got a motion by Scott, seconded by Gary to approve the Kuhn Construction Aerator Building Renovation bid not to exceed $50,000. Still voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, consider approval of resolution 2026-15, amending the village's fee schedule.
That's what I was with Chris Michaels on. We have the right net, we're catching the wrong fish. That's all it is. So the people who are, just going and buying the pre-made 10 by 10, pre-built sheds, whatever, are getting charged the same as the people who are having like a poured foundation, bespoke, shed or garage. So it's just kind of reducing that for somebody who has, so they don't need to go through like the whole inspection ordeal and have a $250 plus fee.
So we're changing the detached garage, whole building shed.
We're adding a fee for those that are less than 100 square feet, or 100 square feet or less.
Sheds greater than 100 square feet, current fee is 200 plus 35 cents a square foot.
There you go.
So this is for larger. So what is the fee for smaller then?
This would be it. Right now, it's just one fee.
Well, this does say greater than 100 square feet in here.
Yeah.
Greater than 100 square feet is going to be 200 with the square footage.
Should that be less than or equal to?
The way I'm reading this, if your shed is over 100 square feet, the new fee is $100.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, everything's $100? What if your shed's under 100 feet?
That's $100. If it's over 100 feet, then
Or what if it's 99 square feet?
$100.
What if it's 30 square feet?
$100.
What if it's 15?
But it's 1,000 square feet.
So this says
That's what-
detached garage, pole building, shed, greater than or equal to 100 square feet is currently $200 plus $35 a square foot. So we're getting rid of, so we're gonna change that, so nobody will be charged the 35 cents per square foot then in the future?
Or less than or equal to 100 square feet.
Okay, this says greater than or equal to. We need to make it less than or equal to,
Yeah, this is not.
right?
Maybe it should just say less than.
Less
rather
than,
than-
yeah.
Fine, I'll do it that way. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I got that wrong.
I know, I had to look at it.
Not past second grade math.
Like, this doesn't look right.
It's like alligator.
I forgot which way the alligator went, yeah. So I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2026-15 with the change to less than 100 square feet.
Second.
All right, motion by Gary, second by Shelley. So. Less than 100 square feet. And then our existing, so if that's less than, and then we have our existing fee schedule is greater than 100 square feet.
The white hot rage, right here.
$200 plus.
200 plus the 35 cents a square foot.
Right. Clear as
Come
can
on.
be. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes with the correction. All right. Next item, consider approval of the Belleville 2026 to 2030 Water Quality Trading Plan Implementation Professional Services Agreement.
Mackenzie from MSA is here to kind of walk through that.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, so this is your water quality trading contract that I think most of you are familiar with. Some may be new too, so we can go into as much depth as you'd like if there's questions and things. But this is able to offset your phosphorus being discharged at your treatment plant with these projects that were implemented several years ago between 2021 and 2023. This program's been going on for a while. So this is the next annual contract starting 2026 and then we'll go through 2030. Typically, we've done this, a new contract year after year for, annual inspections and the reporting that goes to DNR as a requirement. But then in talking with Eve and others, we put together this 5-year contract to be able to give you the estimated fees broken down by year here, so you can put them in the capital budget to be able to plan more ahead for that. So, yeah, otherwise it's the same work that's done year after year, so the inspections that are twice a year to go look at the existing projects, make sure that everything's functioning properly. the annual report that goes with that. I have a copy of the one that we submitted this past year in case anybody's interested. It's got a lot of photos and a lot of discussion that DNR likes to review, and they've been, really diligent about keeping up with that and providing comments. And then it also goes into, with this contract, the annual incentive payment reviews. We get the information from the landowners and then review that and provide the recommendation to the village for that as well.
You said you had a copy of the last report?
Yeah, I do have it right here.
I'd love to see it if I could. Drew or Ian, what was our chemical expense, thank you, last year total for the treatment plant? I know I'm putting you on the spot, so I'm sorry.
It's slow, and like I said, works very slow over here.
Well, chemicals is just I don't know where you're going with the question.
Well, what I'm getting at is, we spent a bunch of money on this project.
Yeah.
In order to reduce the amount of chemical we use, because to me, that's a feel-good thing. We're not using chemical. But we have this ongoing cost here of this report to have people go out and verify that it's still working so that we can have this credit through the DNR for, the phosphorus. What I'm wondering is if we didn't have the credit through the DNR and we had to use chemical instead, what is the cost difference between that and specifically this fee for this report? Are we gonna end up spending, $40,000 in chemicals? If I remember right, last time I asked this question, we were using maybe $3,000 of chemical a year.
We used $3,997.25 last year in chlorine. And I don't know what this encompasses, but other chemicals was $16,374.
Okay, so $20,000 in chemical total.
My understanding was always that without the quality treating, we're held at a certain standard by the state anyway.
We have
You think the chemical or not?
Right, and that's why you have to.
There would have to be improvements to the plant.
Yes, we have to.
That's what the problem is, us making improvements to the plant. The chemical use is one thing. We're only gonna be able to get away with that for as long as we can, and then we're still buying more credits or figuring out a project.
Yeah.
So this moved us forward into the next
And part of this
phase
is,
without having to do the plant yet.
We were looking at a couple $1 million for treating.
for the credits, we still have to maintain our relationship with the landowners.
Yes, we have
And that's what this,
Well, that's the payment we have to make with them.
we have to make that payment too.
So it's a feel good, but it's also like a state required saving us for having to do the plant. Eventually it's gonna have to be done. We're gonna not be able to maintain all the credits.
Yeah, because
Farms.
again, at Public Works last week, it was, we're doing the wastewater treatment plant facility study right now, and the final documents aren't out yet, but the plant is in good shape. What we're gonna be doing now is coming up with our capital improvement plan to start replacing some of that equipment that's old. But the plant has been maintained very well over the last 20 years since we put the addition on it. So, we're not looking, it doesn't look like we're gonna have to put an addition onto the plant, but we're gonna have to replace some of the aging equipment that's in there, so.
Because I know this question is probably coming, WQT cost us $49,861 last year.
If I could add to that too, so your phosphorus limit would be a 0.075, which is like an ultra low for the state. So you would need some sort of filter upgrade, which, present worth over 20 years, we calculate it's $5 million, $6 million. So back when this evaluation had been done to choose trading, all of those different options that we were eligible for were addressed, and this was the most cost effective one. So doing this allows you to offset so that you wouldn't have to do all of those upgrades at the plant, just to kind of give a broader picture of that too.
Right.
I would also ask, when was the last time we did this out? You know, if there was another, essentially if MSA is competitive price-wise, with other.
Ever since I've known this is the one been running our water quality training.
I would strongly oppose looking for a different contractor to look into those things. And we have a relationship with MSA. They've handled the infrastructure in the village, the water quality training agreements. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think that once you establish that relationship, somebody else coming in to reinvent the wheel I don't think that's cost effective or a good show of relationships.
We haven't priced it out. We don't know if it's cost effective.
What's that?
We haven't priced out what someone else would cost. We don't know if
Yeah,
it is cost
that's,
effective.
yep, right, but I feel like you guys, it's not just gonna be water trading, water quality trading, it's gonna be the whole contract will leave MSA for everything that we do with them. It would be, I'm sure, what happens, and I think it's a really big undertaking to see if you're gonna save something that's gonna end up essentially rebuilding all the information that MSA holds.
I'll add that this contract specifically too is time and expense. So there's these numbers here for estimated fee. And again, because it is over the course of 5 years, we were estimating over the course of 5 years, taking into account increases and things like that. But it would only be charged what we spend time-wise, time and expense, which is good. I think Kevin's got his hand raised online. He dropped it into
Yeah, I got a quick comment if you got a second.
Sure. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, just to add into it, and I think you kind of covered this, but this kind of answered, or I was going to kind of address Mike's comment, which is a very appropriate comment and everything too. But I think Gabe kind of touched on it, but when these were set up, I believe it's a 10-year contract, so I don't know if we can get out of it right now. Mackenzie may know so I think we have to fulfill those 10-year contracts. Maybe when that 10-year contract comes up, you can start looking at it. But one other thing, I was talking with Mackenzie before, and maybe at the next board meeting or something too, we could also do a 101 as to where this all came from, since this started, I don't know, Mackenzie knows better than I do, but probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago when we started this process to go down this road of the trading. So obviously a lot of the people on the board don't know the agreements and how things came about and what was looked at the time. But if that would help, we could do a quick, don't have to dive into every detail, but just to let everybody know what was looked at and where things kind of came from too.
Sounds like the committee as a whole.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be helpful. That would definitely be helpful.
We'll do that in the committee of the whole. I think it's a little bit like Groundhog's Day for me sometimes.
Well, and, I mean, I agree with what Missy said before, so I make a motion that we enter into the special services agreement with MSA for the water quality 2026 to 2030 water quality plan implementation.
I'll second.
Is there any chance, and I don't know you, I don't want to make it sound wrong, but they've estimated out X amount of dollars that all of a sudden your labor costs are going to go through the roof for the amount of time, and that we're committed to 5 years thinking we're going to spend $85,000, and all of a sudden we're spending $120,000 because something changed.
Yeah, I think, for this to kind of go to Kevin's point earlier, going out to 2030, this take you to the end of the 10-year agreement with lay notice to go through 2031. And so that's where, based on what we've spent in the past too, I have some numbers, I guess, in the past couple of years, what we have spent versus the contract value, where I think in 2024, it was, I think, an $18,000 contract value. We spent 14,000 of it. So with that, we try to take into account and estimate what that would be as best as we can. Obviously, there's always.
There's some assurance that you're not going to get a 5-year contract, and then all of a sudden Mackenzie gets a $5,000 raise that gets swindled into our 5-year contract.
Right, yeah.
I'll add to that although Mackenzie would probably love that and everything like that, she definitely wouldn't have a problem with it. But yeah, I mean, we would bring it back to the board if for some reason this is pretty standard percentage raises that, kind of across the board. So I wouldn't expect anything like that. But obviously if for some reason, but I think when Gabe and them started talking about doing it, it was more for budgeting, just to be able to look out and have stuff in the budget for 5 years as well. So
Thank you, that makes sense.
And that presentation is actually probably better for the utilities board, the newly formed utilities board.
Is any of this stuff that our public works department at some point can take over and do?
Oh, no.
These are large engineering projects that happen upriver, this mystery rehabilitation. Yeah, these are we should have a meeting to talk about that. I can bring that up at utilities. That would be a good idea, because these are huge. These were like 2-year projects at the time.
It's theoretically possible, but we'd have to invest a lot more in time and staff.
Yeah, we'd have-
Wise, and have dedicated utilities staff where we just don't have that capability at this point. Down the road, yeah, maybe.
And I don't disagree, this would be good, but like I said, there are a couple new board members on that aren't on utilities commission, so a committee of the whole might be, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, so we got a motion by Gary, seconded by Melissa to approve the Belleville 2026-2020, easy for me to say, 2026-2030 water quality trading plan implementation. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. You need this back, or?
You can hold on to it if you want to, or, yeah. Thanks, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, Mackenzie.
All right. So closed session. Can't remember, do we make the motion or do I go into closed session?
You gotta read it.
Read it first. Read it first.
And then we can make the motion and we'll roll call vote that.
The Village of Belleville Village Board will enter into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 subsection 1, subsection E, for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene into open session and take action on the subject discussed in closed session. And tonight we will be talking about establishing a negotiation position regarding the 2027 through 2029 Wisconsin Professional Police Association Collective Bargaining Agreement.
We adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Motion by Gary, second by Debbie. Roll call.
Trustee Bogart,
Yes.
Banner,
Yes.
Kraut,
Yes.
Francois,
Yes.
Reed. Yes. Sorry. Ziegler,
Yes.
Service.
Yes.
Okay.
We are in
Closed session.
at 7:57. All right, welcome back. We are in open session at 8:41. Communication miscellaneous business, news and announcements.
EMS open house, May 20th, raffle drawing, 6 PM at the Belleville station.
May 19th at the Nevada station.
The 19th, we're doing it at Glarus. Tuesday at Glarus, Wednesday in Belleville.
Yeah. And then board review, we gotta be here at 5:50
Yeah, so on the
on the
18th,
18th.
everybody here at 5:50 PM, we're a 10-minute board review meeting where we meet, do some very brief business, and then adjourn to September, basically. Since we're waiting on the results in the entire village.
You can support EMS May 9th from 11 to 2 PM at Kohler's.
Lots of special events coming up, as we move right into special event season, including but not limited to the fish boil, the chalk walk, the bike to breakfast, and more. Check the calendar, which I will be updating tomorrow.
All right. And future agenda items, we talked about committee of the whole.
Yep, the water quality.
Yeah,
And then we're gonna start with budget. Capital.
Yeah, budget season already.
Alcohol licensing will be coming to you guys mid-June.
Are operators up this year or no?
Operators are up in odd years, not even.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I didn't pull my notes.
Tony and I did it last
We
year.
do 4 elections in even years, we do operators and odds, so.
I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Kelly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, we are adjourned at 8:43.